Good morning, everyone. Please feel free to come in and take a seat. We've got this beautiful space that we get to use today. First of all, thank you for attending our thought leadership opportunity today. We're so excited to be able to share more information about what a facility dog does, what a touch therapy dog does. My name is Dawn Van Houten, and I'm the CEO at Duo, and I've got the great privilege to work every day with a team of wonderful people that we build extraordinary bonds between people and dogs to improve lives of individuals and families and communities. And so you're going to get to learn a little bit more today about kind of really what that looks like. So what brought us here today? So we actually had Washington University Brown School of Social Work came to Duo and said, you know, we want to learn more about the benefits of facility dogs in the world today. We're looking for new solutions on how to improve lives. And we put a lot of information together for them, and we thought, gosh, why don't we share this with the world? Because a lot of people have the same questions. So before we get started, I want to thank our friends at Safety National for sponsoring this event today. Steve Devine, one of our board members, helped us pull this together. So thank you, Safety National, for letting us be here today. Safety National has about 80 team members that come to Duo on a regular basis for kennel enrichment to help with our dogs. So we're very appreciative of those partners. So let's talk about what we really want to do today. So I want to introduce our facilitators, and we're going to facilitate some really interesting questions for you so that you can get more information, and then you are going to have the opportunity to ask questions of our panelists, and we'll introduce them in just a moment. And first of all, how much fun is it to be here with dogs on the stage? So first, let me introduce Tracy Gelman-Levy. Tracy is our Chief Program Officer at Duo. She leads our touch and obedience programs at Duo, in addition to the programmatic aspects of our assistance dog program. So Tracy, welcome. We also have Melanie Brady. Melanie is a licensed clinical social worker who works for Duo. She is our program social worker, and she really works on the client side of our business, so really helping with the application process and helping make those matches for assistance dogs and our clients. So Melanie's got great expertise. Thank you for being here. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to the facilitators. There's a lot of good things coming, and I want us to have plenty of time to do that. And I also, too, want to welcome our friends that are visiting virtually today. We've got people from all over the country that are watching right now. I want to say a special hello to our friends at the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota, so I know they're watching, too. So, all right, enjoy. Thank you.
Okay. Let's see if I can figure out how to... Duo trains and connects dogs with people to cultivate positive change in individuals, families, and communities. We were founded in 1981 as Support Dogs, Inc. and rebranded in 2018 as Duo Dogs. Duo is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we place assistance and facility dogs at no cost to our clients and partners. Our 20,000 square foot facility is based in St. Louis, Missouri, but we serve the entire United States, and we even have a dog in the United Kingdom. We currently have 90 active assistance and facility dogs. We're accredited by Assistance Dogs International, a group of nonprofit organizations that train and place assistance dogs. ADI sets standards and guidance surrounding the ethics for the training of assistance dogs and advocating for the legal rights of people with disabilities who are partnered with these dogs. Duo is also recognized by the American Kennel Club as a therapy dog training and certification organization, providing comfort to patients, residents, and families through the Touch Therapy Dog program. Duo offers positive reinforcement-based obedience classes to the public and provides on- and off-site volunteer opportunities for corporations and individuals throughout the community. We place 3 different types of assistance dogs at Duo: mobility, hearing, and PTSD. Our mobility dogs are taught to open and close doors, pick up dropped items, retrieve objects, or carry bags. And a hearing dog may alert people who are deaf or hard of hearing to important sounds like doorbells, alarms, or phones. And we serve local veterans with PTSD. Duo's PTSD dogs provide social and emotional support to their handlers by helping them stay grounded and present out in the community or at home. In addition to these types of assistance dogs, Duo places facility dogs in courtrooms, children's advocacy centers, hospitals, and schools that serve physically, psychologically, or socially at-risk or vulnerable populations. They're used as an adjunct or complement to therapeutic interactions by licensed or certified workers that have been trained as handlers by Duo Dogs. We currently have 40 facility dogs on assignment in the community, 3 of which are here with us today.
You're a little more familiar with the assistance dog program. I'd like to speak about Duo's touch therapy program. So this program involves volunteers and their personal dogs that are trained and certified to go out into the St. Louis metropolitan area and provide visits in hospitals, nursing homes, hospice homes, treatment centers, veterans homes, schools, universities, libraries. Not looking.
Can you hear me now? Okay, sorry about that. So our touch therapy volunteers, we have 300 active volunteers in the touch therapy program today. And those volunteers visit more than 130 facility partners. Just this past year, our volunteers logged over 257,000 touches. And so what that is, that's a one-on-one interaction with an individual. That's incredible impact. And you're going to hear from one of our touch therapy volunteers, Holly, in just a few moments. So now, what does it take to create these dogs, these assistance dogs, these touch therapy dogs? The assistance dog journey, believe it or not, is 2 years. It takes 2 years to breed, raise, train, and place an assistance or facility dog. $50,000 in expenses and hundreds and hundreds of volunteers. And Duo Dogs does this at no cost. We place our dogs at no cost. So it really all starts with breeding and whelping. Duo Dogs are bred through a very specialized training program to ensure that the dog has really the best genetic foundation and health standards to then build on. So for the first 8 weeks of their lives, our volunteer whelper helpers, I know some are in the audience today, they provide 24-hour care for these newborn puppies to really help strengthen their bonds with humans. Then as they grow, our volunteer puppy raisers also have a lot in the room today. They provide socialization and environmental exposure for these dogs, taking them on outings, exposing them to people of all ages, different stimuli, sights, and sounds. These volunteer puppy raisers also come to Duo once a week to participate in obedience classes and training outings. I do want to mention, Duo covers all of the expenses for our volunteer puppy raisers. So that includes food, veterinary expenses, medicine, equipment, and so on. Then when the dogs are around 18 months of age, they return to Duo Dogs for advanced training. And during these 4 to 6 months, the dogs are introduced to our professional certified trainers. They go out and practice training in public, really to determine the best placement, the best career for these dogs. What are they going to do? So they work with each dog on specific skills according to the dog's natural abilities, interests, and temperament. Then, around the age of 2 years old, a dog is finally matched. So they're matched with either an individual client or a facility dog team. They come into Duo for a 1 or 2 week team training where we really educate them. They have time to bond with the dog and then have a really special graduation ceremony. But the journey is not over there. So Duo provides ongoing support to our clients throughout the length of their careers until retirement, which for our assistants and facility dogs is at the age of 10. Now, what does it take to create a touch therapy dog? Very different. So there's some general traits that we look for in our touch therapy dogs: a good foundation of basic obedience and manners, friendly temperament, comfortable in a variety of different environments. Barron's doing great on the stage right now. So 6 to 8 months of age, dogs can enroll in what we call the touch prep class. This is a 6-week class, which really ensures that all of our applicants have the same background and are really familiar with our training methodology before they enter the 12-week touch therapy training program. At that point, we screen every dog in the program before they enter to ensure their overall health and condition, their desire to interact with people, and their really desire to go out on these visits in the community. So this 12-week course focuses on obedience, behavior, situational awareness, patient and dog safety, and facility etiquette. Then finally, when the dogs graduate, they are paired with a facility partner. They also can go out to our community events. We have several community events. And then we also recertify all of our teams. So the journey doesn't end at certification. We recertify our teams to ensure that the dog's health and behavior is still up to par. All right. Now, we are often asked, what is the difference between a facility and a touch therapy dog? So a facility dog is trained in specific tasks to work with a professional handler in a contracted facility, while a therapy dog is trained with their own handler who is a volunteer. Neither facility dogs or touch therapy dogs have public access like our assistance dogs. They may only work in their contracted facility at an approved time. So they do not have the same public access rights as our assistance dogs. But both facility and touch therapy dogs go through extensive training. Facility dogs, as I mentioned, are trained over the course of 2 years, while touch therapy training lasts a few months. And then, as I mentioned, both our facility assistants and touch therapy dogs are recertified on a regular basis. The working careers of the dogs are different. The facility dogs are placed at around 2 years of age and must retire at the age of 10. While a touch therapy dog's career starts at the age of 2, but we do not have a mandatory retirement age. We work with these teams to determine the appropriate age of retirement for the therapy dogs. And then finally, facility dogs live with their primary handler, who is employed by their designated facility, with help from secondary handlers when necessary, of course. And then touch therapy dogs live with their owner handler as a pet. So I hope that that helps. And now I'm going to turn it back to Melanie, who is going to introduce our wonderful panelists.
Yes, I'd love to take the opportunity to introduce our wonderful panelists who are here with us this morning. We have Lisa Jones, who is a St. Louis prosecuting attorney with the Victim Service Division and is the primary handler of Duo Dog Levi. We have Ashley Komorowski, who works at SSM Health Rehabilitation Hospital in Bridgeton and is the primary handler of Duo Dog Kia. And I believe we have both of these dogs here with us today. Is that right? Yeah, they're out here somewhere, being very good. We have Kathleen Houston, who works at St. Louis Children's Hospital in the Child Protection Program and is the primary handler of Duo Dog Opal. And Holly Skupitz is a Duo Touch therapy volunteer with her 2 touch dogs, Oliver and Barron. Our first question this morning is going to be for you, Lisa. We're wondering, how do your adolescents that you work with, the adolescent victims, respond to giving testimonies when Levi is present?
Thanks. We actually use Levi with both adolescents and children. And it's really been an amazing experience to see how children have reacted to him. You know, you can imagine, I head up the victim unit, so we work primarily with Levi and children who have been sexually assaulted or sexually abused. And so kids have to come in and prepare for depositions, for trials, and talk about some pretty traumatic events that have happened in their lives. And just Levi's presence oftentimes opens up avenues of communication where the kids don't even realize that they're talking about traumatic events because they're staring into these big brown eyes, or more likely, he rolls over on his back, goes spread eagle, and waits for people to rub his chest. And they don't even realize that they're being asked questions. And then also we've used him in trials, and you can imagine that, being a child as young as 4, all the way up to a teenager, coming into a room that's a little bit smaller than this, but perhaps this many people, and then being asked personal and detailed questions about sexual abuse and sexual assault. These dogs provide such, it almost empowers children to have this big dog at their feet, and they can reach down and touch him, but even more, they hold on to his collar, his leash, I should say, and in a situation where they're completely powerless, they feel empowered to have this dog with them.
It's beautiful, thank you.
And if I could tell one story real quickly.
Absolutely.
We had a situation when Levi first came to the office, and it was a child who was on the autism spectrum and was verbal, but when we met with this child, she would not tell us anything. She wouldn't even talk about her school, what her favorite color was, and prior to this, she had been talking to us. And so Levi had just come into the office, and we brought him into the room, and the caseworker was working with the mom, and I was sitting on the floor with the little girl, and she wasn't answering any questions. She wouldn't even look at him. And then all of a sudden, she sort of side-eyed looked at him, and she said to me, "What's he for?" And I said, "Well, sometimes kids just feel more comfortable talking to Levi." And she just turned the other way. And then we continued talking to her mom, and all of a sudden, in a whisper, and I'm gonna get choked up, she said, she looked at Levi and said, "Can I tell you my secrets?" And immediately it changed. The whole atmosphere in the room changed. She talked about all of the sexual abuse. I've been doing this for 34 years. I had never seen anything like that. So it's a miracle what these dogs can do.
Thank you so much. Ashley, question for you. What was or what continues to be a really surprising benefit that Kia has brought to patient interactions at the Rehabilitation Hospital?
Well, is this on? I would say that, you know, initially we anticipated we were going to use them during our therapy sessions for, you know, to improve balance and coordination and strength and, you know, getting, you know, incorporate them into all of our activities. But we've definitely noticed some other things that have helped. We've had a patient who's 10 out of 10 pain, like yelling out in pain. She was in so much pain. One of our other handlers was able to bring him in, get him in bed with her. They ended up taking a nap together. By the time they were done, she was like, "Oh, I don't have any pain." So he's brought pain levels down. We've had patients with elevated blood pressures that, you know, they had all their medications. It was kind of past the time where the medication should have worked. We didn't really have anything else to do for the blood pressure at that point. And after time with Kia, the blood pressure dropped 60 points. And then another benefit that we see on the daily basis is anxiety. Patients that don't want to participate in therapy, they might be scared, they're anxious. We've brought Kia in before the therapy session is going to begin, and after they've spent time with Kia, then they're ready to participate in therapy and are happy to do it.
Thank you.
And our last question is for both of our remaining teams, Kathleen and Opal and Holly and Barron. So this might be kind of like a team effort answer. You can take turns, it's up to you. What we're wondering is, what behavior changes have you noticed in the patients that you serve or the kiddos that you work with in your volunteer work when you, since introducing the dogs to what you do?
So Opal works in 2 units at our hospital. She works with me in our child protection clinic, which serves population of sexually abused children and physically abused children. Then she works with Debbie up in the behavioral health unit. And I would say the biggest impact as far as behavior for my patients is the exams that I do in these children are very sensitive and awkward exams. And our show rate to get children to return to this clinic is only about 60% before Opal. We now offer Opal during the phone call to make the visit, and our show rate has gone up over 70%. And the children, when they come into the clinic, are so focused on Opal, and Opal's part of their exam, and she goes into the room with them, that they kind of forget about what is actually going on for a brief period in their life. And then Debbie will tell me that her children that are, children that are having a lot of depression, they're more willing to go to group therapy. One child even said, Opal has cured my depression. So she's been absolutely amazing, and I get emotional every time I think about it. So.
So Barron, we primarily go to St. Louis Children's Hospital, and what I see is, some of these kiddos can be there for a long time. Some people are there for a couple of days. What Barron does is, when we arrive, we get a list of kiddos who might like to see the dog, and we'll go to the rooms, or we'll just kind of wander around the hospital and see who wants to meet him. And for example, there was one case where I was walking down the Heart Center, and I just popped into a room, and I hear the parents struggling with a toddler post-surgery. Doctors wanted the child to get up and walk around as they do post-surgery, but the kiddo was very young and did not want to do that. And so a lot of us will walk around with a secondary leash. I said, hey, do you want to take Barron for a walk? So I obviously had control of the dog, but we attached a second leash, and the little kiddo was happy to walk up and down the halls, for 10 minutes and kind of get that post-operative movement around, going. And generally speaking, he just brings so much light into the rooms. Like I said, the kids can be there for, I've visited kids that were there for 6 months, and it's a long day at the hospital, and it's a lot of people coming into your room wanting something from you. And Barron doesn't want anything. All he wants to do is give. And it's just a light coming into their day. I've had kids say, I've been in the room where a nurse would say, do you need more pain medicine? And the kid said, no, I don't. Barron's here. So that was like, well, this is a win. And in addition to that, I just wanted to mention that Barron and a bunch of the other touch therapy dogs are right now part of a study going on at the Center for Advanced Medicine, working with dementia patients, and it's ongoing, but preliminary results are that we're lowering agitation, their scores are better on their memory, cognition. So that's a really cool thing that the therapy dogs can do.
Thank you so much to all of our panelists. We really appreciate you sharing all of that with us. I know that you all in the audience probably have some questions that you would like to ask of these panelists up here. So think about what everyone has shared. What are you naturally, genuinely interested in? If you would like to ask a question, please just raise your hand and we'll take as many as we can. And if we don't have any questions, we can also open it back up to the panelists if there are any other examples or stories you can think of that you would like to share today.
I can always share another story. So
Go for it.
Just to let everybody know, I've always had dogs, and when Duo first approached us, Christina Marty, who's Levi's other handler and who was here with him at her feet, she's like, Lisa, we need to do this. And I'm like, Christina, really? Is it going to make that big of a difference? I swear this all the time to Duo, I was 180% wrong. I mean, I could give you 365 different stories of how this dog has made a difference. We had a case once where Levi wasn't in use. It was an adult who didn't think that she needed him in a deposition. And the deposition was being done in a room close to my office, and this woman was getting very upset, and she started to cry, and she was a loud crier. Levi was hanging out in his crate, chewing on one of his balls, and all of a sudden, I didn't say anything to him. He immediately got up. I was working at my desk. He came over. He nudged my arm and put his head under my arm, and he started walking out of the office towards the depot room. He knew that someone was crying, and he wanted to be there with this person. It happened yesterday in the court. We were walking up to court, which, by the way, no one knows who I am in the courthouse anymore. It's all, hi, Levi. Oh, hey, Lisa. And there was just a lady crying. And when I stopped to see if she was okay, she said, your dog is beautiful. And I said, well, it's not my dog, it's the prosecutor's. And she went on to tell me that she just had to put her dog down. And so we sat with her for 15 minutes, and this big dog just put his big head in her lap, and this lady just looked at me and said, thank you, that's what I needed. And that happens all the time. Levi walks into court and everybody starts laughing, and it just brings down the tension, even for the staff. You know, we have to have vicarious trauma by the things that we hear. I know you guys probably have that too. And I can't tell you the number of times Christina and I walk in the office and there's a staff member laying on the floor with Levi, just needing some extra tummy time. Levi gets the tummy time, the prosecutors do. Thank you.
Oh, yes. So I'm just curious from the panel, because you're all handlers up there, a facility dog or a therapy dog. First part is, you know, what has that relationship done for you in your personal life or your professional life? And then also, you know, what's some great challenge that you overcome in your work to do next?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I've said this 100 times when I do speaking engagements. Duo placed Levi to help our victims, but I swear to God, he came to save me, because it has made a significant difference just in how lighter going to work seems to be, just for me personally. And probably the biggest challenge, no one told me how much a lab sheds. I mean, I love Duo. Oh, he sheds twice a year, Lisa, the first 6 months and the second 6 months. And boy, you guys weren't kidding. But I mean, honestly, it's just, there's been no challenges. He just is really, he's a delight.
I would say I totally agree with that. Not just changed our lives at work. Like, I can't tell you how many times people at work say that Kia is the best thing that's ever happened at our work. Everybody says it. Everybody loves him the most. He's everybody's favorite coworker. But also home. You know, I have 3 kids, and so, I mean, he's obviously changed our life for the better. And then Lisa is our secondary handler, and so he stays with Lisa, like, if we're out of town, and she's got 3 kids. And so they are always asking, like, when is Kia coming back to stay with us? They love him so much. Challenges, I would say, it's just like technical things on a day-to-day basis for us, for scheduling, and some things that we didn't anticipate, but we've easily worked through it. And, you know, you can't run to the store right after work on the way home. Little things, but obviously it doesn't matter in the long run.
I was just going to mention that Barron started this program when he was 5 years old. And I thought we were pretty bonded before that. And going through with the trainers who are amazing at Duo really kind of gave me so much confidence with him to be able to go out in the community and do what he does. It just took it to another level. So even if you don't want to have a touch therapy dog, just obedience classes with your dog will really kind of cement that bond. And I would say the biggest challenge, because I don't work in healthcare. I was coming at this from, I was a stay-at-home mom, and I thought this would be a great thing to do, is learning the ins and outs. But again, Duo does a great job. You don't leave the facility without seeing, you know, wheelchairs and hospital beds and things like that, and they put you through so many scenarios, so when you do step into a hospital or a situation like that, you know what you're doing. And then there's additional training at St. Louis Children's Hospital that we go through. So that was probably my biggest challenge, but I was never scared. I was nervous, but I was never scared, because the Duo team really put me and Barron through good training, and just had that confidence with him.
Thank you. Valerie? I have a question. So, as a volunteer, really specific, but anybody else needs to speak to it. You don't know what you're walking into because you don't have those patient charts. You don't know what's behind that door that you're knocking on. So I just want to know, like, how you handle that and how Barron handles it, because you sometimes don't know if you're going to ask somebody screaming behind that door, so they a lot of thing, or if they're going through something.
Yeah, I think it's kind of to what I said before, was we go through so many scenarios. You know, Tony, the trainer, he'll be in the hospital bed and he'll give you all kinds of things that you could potentially come up against when you walk into a room. We open a door and I've seen, you know, not a lot because but there's been medication on the floor. There's been toaster strudels on the floor. There's been, you know, a million things on the floor that he is naturally going to want to get to. But because we've gone through such extensive training at Duo, we know he trusts me and I trust my training. So that's really the easiest way to answer that.
Can you tell us about just an typical day?
So it really varies for Levi. When he is not in trial, you know, most of the time I still take him up to court with me when I have to go, whether it's just to touch base with a prosecutor. The other day I walked into court without him, and immediately everyone in the courtroom turned around and said, "Where's Levi?" So I had to go back and get him. And then he sat on the bench with the judge, and he just laid at her feet the whole morning. I was doing things in the courtroom, so it's not like I left him there. Chrissy. But other than that, he's sitting with kids coming in to do depositions. We also use Levi on homicide cases when we have to bring a family in to prepare them for what they're going to see and hear in a trial, showing crime scene photos. I have Levi with me just in case the families need a break with him. We've started using him during jury deliberation. It's some of the most stressful time for families, and so he sits in our big waiting room with them. We've actually used him a couple of times for juries after the verdict comes in and they're being discharged, where they've had to see some particularly gruesome crime scene photos. The judges have called and said, "Can Levi come in?" And jurors, it's also amazing how the number of volunteers that are on our juries, because they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's a Duo dog." And everybody knows Levi because he has a birthmark on his paw, so for some reason that stands out for them. So we use him like that. But he's walking in the office, constantly being petted by everybody. And the hard part, one of the challenges, is getting people to not try and give him treats. That's the biggest thing. And the judges are the worst offenders.
I have another question. So, you know, we get often asked, you know, how did you decide that you needed a facility dog at your place of work? And how did you go about getting one? Because it is, you know, it's kind of a unique thing, because you're working full time, you're in a place of work, and so how did that come along? I remember your facility.
I would say I actually have been asking for years for a facility dog. I just loved the idea of it. And this is before I really knew exactly what they did and what all went into it. But I've been asking for years. And our boss every year is like, nope, nope, nope. She's actually not a big dog person. And then she ended up getting a dog for her stepdaughter, and then loving her dog. And I think maybe that kind of helped change her mind a little bit, but we ended up getting approval to have one. And the whole time I was asking for one, I had no intentions of being a handler. I just thought it would be really cool to have at our facility. But when it ended up happening, and they asked if I would want to be one, it was just happened to be that perfect time in my life that it would work out, you know, with my family and at work. So, you know, I kind of went into it not really knowing exactly what it was going to entail, but it's obviously worked out for the best.
At Children's, we started with using a touch therapy dog in our child abuse clinic. And what we noticed is that it was so successful that we wanted it more and more and more, yet it's a very sensitive issue clinic. sensitive exams, very sensitive topics. And so the person that was in charge of the dog program at the time said, you know, Kathleen, I think your clinic would be perfect for a facility dog. And so we applied, and and then Opal came into our lives, and so we are beyond blessed. So.
For us, we had sort of been talking about it for a couple of years, and I had had friends that had been involved with Duo as volunteers and puppy raisers for years. And then we were actually approached by one of the board members. I think Levi was the first Duo dog placed in a prosecutor's office in the state of Missouri. They'd been placed in other, Illinois had several, and so we would talk to our counterparts in Illinois, and they just raved about it. And so it was really Christina Marty who was the impetus that, Lisa, we need a dog. And again, I've had dogs my whole life, so I love them. And I just totally underestimated the power that these animals would provide to the citizens that we work with.
Any other questions? Oh, yes, Bob.
Just was wanting to ask, recently you placed a dog at St. Louis University. It seems easier to see like all kid things than how the dogs can be. What kinds of things are they doing at St. Louis University?
That's a wonderful question. I can probably speak to that a little bit. So Duo Dog Woody was recently placed with St. Louis University. He primarily works in their wellness center. So he's really providing a lot of support to those students who may be struggling. Maybe it's before a big exam. Maybe they they're coming in from out of town. They're new to the area. They don't know anyone. They have fears. They have stressors going on in a university with classes, with just social aspects. So he's really working a lot with different individuals. So as a facility dog, you can have up to 4 handlers, so a primary, and then you can have 3 secondary handlers. And each one of Woody's handlers works in different areas of the university. He's also helping out in the provost's office. I wish his handlers were here today. They could probably speak a little bit more to it. But really, they're also finding out different ways that they're going to be able to use him. It's not that, on day one, you knew all the things that these amazing dogs were going to do. It takes time. I'm sure that in the many years that you've had these dogs, things come up and you say, wow, I never thought that we would be using this dog in this way. And if you wanted to speak to that as well.
It's true. I mean, I know that in times in St. Louis County, we also have treatment courts, and one of the courts that we have is a veterans court. So these are veterans who have gotten in trouble with the law. And I remember early on, the head of our treatment court said, Lisa, if Levi's not being used, would you mind coming to veterans court? And there was a particular individual who was confined in the St. Louis County Jail. He was a veteran. He'd been confined for several months, and when Levi and I walked in, his face lit up. He was a Vietnam veteran, and I said to the jail guard who was with him, I said, would it be okay if Levi came over and just petted him? And I talked to the judge ahead of time, and they said yes. And this man had been locked up for 6 months, and he said, it's been 6 months since I saw my dog. And here was this big burly man with just a big tear coming down his face. And again, Levi wasn't brought to our office to work in veterans court. He wasn't brought for treatment court, but it's just one of the ways that if we're not working with the child, we want Levi working. So he's in the court, he's doing whatever is needed in the courtrooms.
And how about for staff? The morale that these dogs also bring to your staff and to your organizations.
You just have to look at Levi's Instagram page. I mean, every time people come up to me like, hey, I haven't been photographed on his Instagram page. I'm like, okay, we'll do a photo shoot later. I mean, he just walks down the hall. Like I said, I hesitated putting the one picture of Levi on the bench with the judge because now the other 20 are going to want him sitting with him. So it's a problem.
I would say we have the same, like Lisa said, people coming in and just laying with him. People come up every day and are like, I just need some Kia time, and we'll just lay on the mat with him or come back to where his bed is to see him. And it's very hard to get in and out of work in a timely manner because everybody's stopping you.
Yeah, I can think of an instance where we had a group of dogs down at Children's Hospital, and the NICU had an especially difficult week. And so, you know, what better to do than have a parade of dogs? And so we weren't, you know, it's the NICU, no one's petting the dogs, but it's for the staff. And their faces lit up, and, you know, we visit the behavioral health clinic staff. I've had surgeons come out of surgery. I mean, it was actually very early on, and this big guy was just like, "Can I just pet your dog?" And he just got down with Barron and didn't talk to me, and I didn't really talk to him. He just needed, you know, I don't know what happened in surgery, but he needed that one-on-one time. So it just lightens their day too.
I think staff, and Debbie will tell you as well, our staff at Children's will stop us constantly and just say, "Can we pet her? Can we please pet her? This has been the best part of my day. This made my day," right? This is why I work here, that type of thing. I mean, everybody just loves Opal. We try to take her out to the bathroom, bring her back. It's 20 minutes in the hallway. So it's, for the staff, it's been just wonderful.
I mean, I was even going to say, my neighbors, there's a little 5-year-old who Levi is going to be show and tell. You know, she wants to invite him. My sister's a teacher in Columbia, and suddenly now Levi is going to Columbia to talk about what it's like to be a facility dog. So yes, he's going to need a PR rep soon.
Any other questions? Yes.
To say something that's a staff member, there's 2 things. Number one is the efficacy of my work has magnified. It's just magnified, and that empowers me as a social worker. And then the other part of it is taking care of a dog, because we take special charity, you know. He gives and gives and gives, and so we need to love them and build them up. And that in and of itself has enriched my mind, and I think only thought to them, those 2 things, really.
It's funny because when I bring Levi over to Christina's, sometimes he'll like lay on the floor in between us, and we'll both be on the floor petting him, and Christina's husband walks in and he's like, "Don't you two see enough of this?" So it's really interesting, but it is a part of that self-care. And you really, I know I can tell a difference after he's worked a lot that night. It's like he needs something from us. And so that whole night is just about replenishing his spirit and providing another toy for him to destroy. Yeah?
So I have another question. So, you know, we talked about Duo facility dogs, and this is an 8-year relationship, you know, that you have when you get a Duo facility dog. So what kind of support do you get during that? I mean, I know you haven't done this for 8 years yet, but what kind of support do you get from the Duo team to help you problem solve if you have problems? Does that ever happen?
Well, we had a big problem because we got Levi, and then he was working with our office for 2 years, and then COVID hit, which COVID didn't affect Levi, except when everybody came back, suddenly the courthouse had Belgian Malinois, who are police dogs, and Levi was so thrilled to see his brothers and sister labs today, but he is not a fan of police dogs. So we actually had to have Chrissy come out because he barks uncontrollably at them, and as she always reminds us, okay guys, he's also a dog, and so there were things that we had to work with. And everybody in the courthouse also knows that Levi doesn't like police dogs, and in a weird way, that sort of helps with some of our clientele who also don't like police dogs. So when we tell them, hey, Levi gets really nervous when he sees a police dog, he's gonna bark a lot, they're like, you go, Levi, we agree with you. So it had an effect that actually worked for us.
And we've only had Kia for like a year and a half at this point, and I would say maybe like a month into having him, he started getting pretty finicky at work. He's pretty food motivated, and he just got to a point where he wouldn't do anything without getting a treat. So we actually had Tony come out, and one visit from Tony, and he's been totally great ever since. So if we ever have had an issue, we can just shoot them an email, and somebody will come out and help us.
Same here. I think my challenge with Opal originally was her strength. And she loves dogs and people, but especially dogs. And so hence her harness, because if she gets excited, I, can faceplant. So Tony suggested this harness because she's so strong, and it's been perfect. So I will just reach out to Duo, and they meet, they answer your questions and help you out.
Any other questions? Yes.
This is going back to a question that was asked earlier. It's mostly for Ashley. We're OT students from SLU, and we're really interested in animal-assisted therapy. So if you can just talk a little bit more about your day and what you do with Kia.
So being in rehab, we're pretty regimented and throughout our day. We have patients all morning long, all afternoon, kind of set up in 45-minute blocks. One thing I think that is a little challenging for us is that we have 4 handlers. We have an OT, PT, speech therapist, and recreational therapist. So OT, PT, speech, we actually cannot really be treating a patient and have Kia at the same time because we have to be holding onto Kia's leash. So it makes it really difficult if our patient had to go to the bathroom, or there's a lot of just hands-on involvement in our therapy sessions. So that was kind of a challenge for us to figure out scheduling-wise. So we each have a block of time where we're not treating a patient, where we can take Kia into somebody else's treatment session. Jackie, our recreational therapist, has a little more flexibility where she has got a little more extra time where she can be involved in therapy sessions. We have a system, people can let us know, they can sign up for a time with us, with Kia, to be part of their session, kind of let us know what they're working on, what it is that they want him to be a part of their session for. I would say we also have a Zoom chat going on where people can just be like, is Kia available right now? I have a patient down here that could use him. I would say one of the really great things about being a therapist is that we can walk into a session with somebody else and identify what they're working on and how we can help with Kia. We have a lot of new therapists at our facility right now. So sometimes they may not even know exactly how to incorporate Kia into their session, but we have a little more experience, so we are able to figure out, well, this patient's leaning to the left, let's get Kia onto his left side, or they're neglecting their left side, let's put him over here. It looks like they're working on standing balance, so let's put him up on the mat and raise the mat up so they can pet him or brush him. So every day is a little bit different, but we each have just that open time where we are able to take him around. And then he's got rest time too throughout the day. He definitely can get a little overstimulated at times, and he lets us know. So we can let him take a little nap in the back room.
And I have to let you guys know that a good friend of mine, her dad, was not wanting OT and was not wanting PT, and then he met their dog. And I get pictures all the time, and it made the difference. He was, he's a 90-year-old man, and he knew, I'm not doing any of that stuff. And as soon as he met the dog, 100% changed. Now he can't wait to get there.
Okay, any more questions? All right, well, I would like to thank our panelists so much. If we could give them a round of applause. Thank you for being here. And before we end today, I'm going to bring Dawn Van Houten, our CEO, back to the stage for some closing remarks.
Thank you so much, Tracy. It's been so much fun to listen to all these wonderful examples of the work that's happening. We mentioned in the very beginning, we are a nonprofit, so philanthropy is important to us, and a big part of philanthropy are telling those impact stories. And so thank you for helping us do that today. We really appreciate that. So how do you get involved? So, Duo, we've got tons of volunteer opportunities at Duo. A lot of people, they start hearing their stories and they say, even if they're not crazy about dogs or they just like the notion of what we do, come to Duo and say, how can I help? And so here's how you can get involved. So Volunteer opportunities. We've got a lot of volunteers here today, so this is no news to you. So one of our really fun, a lot of people begin here as a whelper helper. And so at Duo, a whelper helper is an individual who comes to Duo and helps with our itty bitty puppies right after they're born up until they're 8 weeks of age. And so during this 8 weeks at our Duo facility, we've got these little puppies there, and volunteers come in and sit with them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we have surgeons that do it, we have CFOs that do it, we have just community volunteers and so people just love to do that, and a lot of people fall in love, right there. And then there's also kennel enrichment. So kennel enrichment, so we mentioned kind of the path of our assistance dogs in training. So first they go out, they start at Duo with the whelper helpers, then they go out with their volunteer puppy raisers, which is another volunteer opportunity, and these are people who take the puppies at 8 weeks old into their home, and they care for them and raise them for the next year and a half. And during that year and a half, it's not fostering, it is building an assistance dog or a facility dog, because those wonderful volunteers come back to Duo once a week for training with our professional trainers. So they're really, part of creating, that facility dog or assistance dog. So then at a year and a half, the dogs come back to Duo and they stay with us in our 20,000 square foot facility, which is about 2 miles from Safety National, and they work with our professional trainers every day. So now these dogs are living with us. And so you can imagine, a kennel is a kennel. Our kennel is really nice, but we still want lots of activity for our dogs who are there when they're not in training. So kennel enrichment is volunteers that come in and play with our dogs that are in the kennel. And these dogs are a year and a half to 2 years old. And people come over on the lunch hour and do that. There is training involved. There is volunteer orientation for any of our volunteer opportunities, because as you can imagine, if you are interacting with these wonderful assets that are going to go out and change the world someday, there's some training that's involved in that. So, and then I mentioned volunteer puppy raiser, and then you met Holly earlier today, so volunteer touch teams, so Duo Touch Therapy. Tracy mentioned we have, almost 300 teams in the community right now, and so these are wonderful volunteers like Holly that have brought their personal dog in for that advanced certification to be a touch therapy dog in the community. So those are outstanding people, outstanding work. So to apply, if you're interested in a facility dog or assistance dog, duodogs.org, go to our website. There's an inquiry process right there. For those of you that are here today, you're welcome to hang out a little bit afterwards and visit with our team. We'd be happy to provide any information that you might need. And then if you are interested in becoming a Duo Touch Therapy facility, so for example, you'd like some of those 300 teams to come visit your facility, ask about that too. Tracy Levy leads that program, and so she's here today to visit with you about that, and then you can come to our website, as well. And then too, for anybody who's not really interested in participating as a handler of a dog or in that capacity, we do need funding. So there's always fundraising opportunities and giving opportunities to help us continue doing what we were doing, because as we mentioned, in the beginning, when we looked at what it costs to create an assistance dog or a facility dog, it's about $50,000 investment, and that's before they're placed. So once they're placed, that begins an 8-year relationship that we have with our client, and all of that support that we provide in the meantime, that takes support as well and funding to do that as well. So absolutely credible organization and program. And we could not do it without our volunteers, and we could not do it without our supporters, and just the wonderful people that are involved. That's what the Duo is. It's the person and the dog. And so you've seen that today with the handlers that are on stage with us. It's just as much about the person as the dog, and it's what they do together that's changing lives. And that's really why we're here. So thank you again for coming today. Please stay, visit with our panelists. They're wonderful people, and their dogs are here too. So the ones that are not on stage are actually here with us in the audience. So you have the opportunity to meet those as well. And then everybody in our virtual audience, feel free to contact us afterward with future questions that you might have. We're happy to answer those. And until we do this again, everybody have a great day.